Hey guys, we're going to be talking about weather today. This is actually predicting weather. So basically every day, you guys know the meteorologist comes on the TV, or if you listen to Weather Channel, you'll hear a forecast. Okay, so how do actually meteorologists look at the weather conditions and map them out and determine how the weather forecast is going to come about? That's what we're going to talk about today. The first type of map I want to talk about is called an air pressure map. So you'll see the big L's and H's that come across the country on the weather maps, and what those are low and high pressure. And the lines that actually represented by them that surround these high and low pressures are called isobars. They're connecting areas of equal air pressure. And you may wonder, why do we track these things? Well, low pressure represents our storms. So whenever you have a storm system come through, you'll see these lines surrounding low pressure. Also, if there's a lot of isobars in an area, that means the wind is going to be very fast at that area. So on this map, fastest area wind speed is like right here, right on the edge of the storm, and it would be blowing inward towards the low pressure. Pressure is the same everywhere on the isobars. So if you walk along an iso line, the value of it stays the same. And where the isobars are closer together, like I said, you get greater wind speeds. So obviously this is tracked to see if there's going to be heavy winds in the storm. And of course, high pressure are the dry weather areas. They can also have wind, so we also look at wind damage from just regular clear conditions as well, from a high pressure. All right, temperature. So if you turn on Weather Channel, you might have seen these temperature maps where they show a shading of red, orange, yellow, blue, white, depending on temperature. The way they get them, they connect up the temperature lines called isotherms. Okay, so isotherms are areas equal, lines of equal temperature. And so you'll connect up the 60, 65 line, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, etc. And then what they do is they shade in different colors in between them. And that's how they create this map. And obviously you're concerned with the temperature in the next few days. Well, the weather moves from west to east. So you can look to the west of us and see what type of temperatures are coming. And whether or not temperatures are moving up from the south or coming down from the north to determine what they're going to be like the next few days. And that's what meteorologists do. Okay, also other types of maps you may look at, satellite images. Okay, so an example of that shown with this image of Hurricane Katrina. Okay, so we look at the way the clouds are coming together and whether or not the storm is strengthening or not, and also track which way the storm is going by looking at satellite images. Also, very common in the weather forecast, will show you these green shaded in yellow and white and pink. All right, that stands for radar. Radar is basically seeing if there's precipitation falling. So the green areas and yellows are typically rainfall, and if it's red, it's super heavy. That may even mean a thunderstorm is coming through. Snow are usually the white or blue areas, and obviously the darker blues are the heavier snow. And then you get a mixture in between, like sleet. That's what these pink lines are represented by, which are either sleet or ice. And then hail is something that falls during thunderstorms. So heavy thunderstorms will have that as well. So we look at different types of precipitation. We see their intensity and then forecast whether we're going to get heavy rains, heavy snows, etc. from these radar maps. Okay, also to represent information briefly, they've created these what's called weather station models. So you may see these on some of the maps that we do. And so one example of this you're going to see here is basically showing 100% cloud cover. So that means it's totally shaded in. If it was clear, you would be shaded in at all. All right, so that's one thing that's shown here. Temperature is always in the top left corner, and it's in degrees Fahrenheit in our country. So 38 degrees Fahrenheit, that's what that's reading. And then wind speeds, we look at this symbol and you can see the different wind speeds. Sometimes we'll do knots. So miles per hour is another one they use. Miles per hour we're more familiar with, but you can see it's hard to memorize how much miles per hour per each little feather that comes off of this. Okay, knots are much easier. 10 knots is a big feather, while a half feather would be 5 knots. And they use that in nautical terms when they're doing a marine forecast. So you might hear that if you're a boater. We'll talk about the wind speed in knots. Also, wind direction is from the southwest. So this whole flagpole points to southwest. The wind is actually blowing this way though, towards the northeast. Okay, we always report where winds come from because we want to know if it's going to be a warm or a cold wind. And then in the top right corner we have the pressure in millibars, so 1018. So the higher the number, the less chance of rain typically, because higher pressure is usually drier weather. Wet weather will be a lower pressure. Okay, and the stick tells the direction the wind is coming from, and the flags tell the wind speed. So again, 10 knots for a whole flag or feather, I should say, and then a half feather is 5 knots. Okay, so here is a weather map just to show you. So you turn on Weather Channel, this is what they show you, and you can interpret a lot of things. First off, they show the fronts, which you guys talked about in the last set of notes. So the blue areas are cold fronts, and they have triangles, and they tell you which way they're moving. So this is moving eastward to southeastward on the bottom part. Then this is an occluded front here and a cold front together, so it's moving this way. This is a stationary front, so it's not moving. And then the cold front attached to it, which is moving southward. And the low pressure area is where the wet weather is. High pressure right here by Boise is dry weather. Okay, and you can track it. And then also you look at the wind direction. So the flags, remember, tell you which way the wind is coming from. So this is a northwest wind blowing out of the northwest towards the southeast. This is a northeast wind blowing towards the southwest. Okay, and then this little symbol right here on the bottom is actually a hurricane. So occasionally we get hurricanes, they make a special symbol for it, and that's what it is on the weather map. So this is basically how to read a weather map, and hopefully you guys got something out of this. Okay, so just a couple little questions to go with that weather map. So what type of front is located west of Oklahoma City? So let's go to Oklahoma City, and if you look at Oklahoma City, you have a cold front. Okay, what do the stick symbols indicate? So two things, or a few things. The cloud cover, the air pressure, the wind speed and direction, and the temperature. Okay, what are the slender curvy lines? So from the beginning of the PowerPoint, you guys remember, they are isobars, which are joins, areas of same air pressure. And the symbol east of Florida is actually a hurricane, as I mentioned, and that's pretty much that. Okay, also another couple little things. Where does rain happen compared to a front and snow? So if a cold front is located here, on the front definitely, and also sometimes out in front of it a little bit, just a tiny bit. Warm fronts, on the other hand, because of their longer area, gentle ramp that the air is going up, it tends to be a larger area out in front of a warm front. So cold fronts tend to be right on it and they quickly move through. Warm fronts kind of stick around, so they kind of are a larger area in front of the warm front. Behind the fronts though is dry weather. So once a front passes through an area, we return back to dry conditions typically, unless another one comes right behind it, which can happen. You can get walloped by multiple fronts at once occasionally. Okay, and high pressure, remember, is dry weather, low pressure is wet weather. So this is pretty much how to read weather maps, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that. But that's predicting weather, and that's done on a daily basis. All right, hope you enjoyed.